Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have another story. And they start out, my story is rather long and pretty sad. Well, if it's long and pretty sad, at what point did you not pull the plug and say, this is not going to be a long story? Because a lot of times there is red flags in the beginning, there's smoke where there is fire, and you just keep going and going and going. And sometimes people say it's bad luck, oh, I made bad decisions. I'm not talking about you, the individual that wrote this story. I'm just saying I've been doing this for a little while now. I've received a lot of stories. I have over 300 videos. And a lot of times you have to take accountability for the fact that you knew it was a bad relationship. And a lot of times people do not change. Especially when you're in your 30s, your 40s, even your late 20s, it's going to take a traumatic moment to spark someone. A lot of times someone says if someone's an alcoholic, oh, they got to hit bottom. They also need to make the decision for themselves that they want to change. In this particular case, you were enabling him, right? You allowed this kind of behavior, but in the end, you knew this individual was someone that wasn't good from the beginning. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, let's get right into it. I love what you do and watch your videos often. Well, thank you kindly. Well, my story is rather long and pretty sad. I have so much anxiety, I'm just downright heartbroken and sad. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. First thing you need to do is don't identify with being heartbroken and sad overall. It's a moment. Then you got to get yourself into the quickest way to change your feelings is to change your physiology. Take a cold shower, go for a run, do something that challenges you. Do not sit around when you're feeling this way. Play some music and go for a long walk in the woods somewhere near nature. Get your mind in a different state. Does that mean you're not going to have feelings of heartbroken? No, but it's going to not be so prolonged and you're going to cut things up a little bit. When you're feeling extremely down and out, you need to be getting some form of regular exercise. If you want to mix in music with that or an audio book, go for it. Okay? And do some research on dealing with anxiety as a separate thing from your ex. So if you think that the anxiety was from your relationship, treat anxiety as anxiety. And like I said, I don't mean to be a broken record, but sleep, exercise, and diet have a lot to do with anxiety. My ex and I are 36 years old. We were together almost 2 years. It was a very sexually and emotionally intense relationship. Okay. I met him through a mutual friend. This man said that he never loved anyone the way he loved me. Well, that's a nice statement. I had my crap together, and he did not. What does that say? He was living on his best friend's couch when I met him. If someone doesn't have their shit together and you do, they ought to be going in the right direction. They ought to have some goals. They ought to be motivated by the fact that you do. If they're kind of just treading water, okay. If they're like, I'm going to school right now, but I'm broke. They're doing the right things to climb the mountain. That's okay. But if they're just making excuses of why things are bad and they're not really making much progress, that's when you got to say to yourself, this isn't going to be a good person for me. He was living on his best friend's couch when I met him. Again, that's not a big issue if he doesn't plan on being there for a while or it's not a regular thing. I mean, what did your friend say about this guy that introduced you? He had a beat-up truck and a crap job. Well, having a beat-up truck's not a big deal, but having a crap job that he's accepted is not good. Honestly, I didn't care too much because I fell in love. Love is blind. But to be honest, I was out of his league. I had been married before and have 2 children. So you're out of his league, but you fell in love with him. Interesting. We lived in California. I helped him get a job with my brother-in-law, making $7 more an hour. Good for you. So you helped him get out of his situation. I wanted good things for him and also our future. Unfortunately, did he want good things for himself is the question. See, like if his idea of who he was identifying with wasn't lined up with who you wanted him to be, it was never gonna happen. Unfortunately, he was an alcoholic and had issues with drugs and pills. Okay, alcoholism is bad enough. If you mix drugs and pills, That is toxic. And it's hard enough to get off one, but when you combine the two, I've never been on them, but I've drank an alcohol before, and I've taken pills before in my life for medical reasons, so I should take that back. But what I'm saying is I've witnessed people in my own family that were alcoholics and then added to the buffet pills, and that's not a good place to be. That's excessive, and that just makes it worse and worse and worse. But the drugs were not a constant in his life. It doesn't matter. We moved in together the first time. It's okay to do drugs and pills and be an alcoholic? No. If you're going to accept that up front, you got to know, like, that wasn't part of your deal up front. You didn't say to him, like, look, you really need to clean up your act. We moved in together, and usually people won't do that for you. We moved in together the first time, only 3 months, and his drinking was terrible. Terrible is a strong word. We had to move out of the house because the landlord didn't care for my ex. What did you think of the landlord? Did the landlord have a valid reason to not like him? He also was not helping with rent. Red flag, red flag. He couldn't help get into a new place due to not having his half, so I was left homeless and had to stay in a hotel until I found a room to rent somewhere. Sorry, lost my place here. He went back to his best friend's house. We broke up because of it. Over the last 4 months or so, we were still talking, hooking up, would get back together, and then split again. I also helped him get a new truck. I put the entire truck in my name. Long story, he wanted it so bad. Yeah, I'm a dummy. When you say you're a dummy, you don't have to be a dummy long term. Learn from it. Write this out and go, I'm not doing that again. I'm not putting myself in that situation again. If I'm in love with a guy and he really wants a truck and he can't afford it, then I don't need to be the one, okay? So don't identify with being a dummy. You did something out of love. You did something from your heart. It didn't work out. Don't do it again. My daughters lived in Missouri, and I decided to move in the beginning of January to go fight for them because him and I were on and off so much. I told him I was still leaving. He said he couldn't live without me, and said, well, obviously you can't live without you. He's living off of you. Live without me. He said he's not going to lose me by me moving alone. January 2018 we moved. I told him before we left that he needed to take this serious and leave all the alcoholism, drugs, and fighting in California. He agreed. It doesn't work that way. People don't just go, oh, I'm moving, I'm going to change. It doesn't work that way. He needed to make that decision on his own. You didn't have to set that rules. He wasn't going to change. He had to already have that wheel in motion and been working on that months ahead. Because when people move to a new place, they tend to get a little homesick, miss their friends, and that would create someone who's an alcoholic a reason to drink more. Correct me if I'm wrong. The moment we got there, it was the boyfriend show, all about him. He was in depression, so he drank more and was mixing it with drinking with pills. We had a beautiful 3-bedroom home that I got into with my money, no help from him. Again, this is a pattern that you're accepting. Don't complain about it. You accepted it and you did it. You bought him a truck or helped sign for a truck, then you paid the money for the house. You're creating expectations in the relationship. I was fine with it. A month later, his truck or mine got repoed. He wasn't paying on it. I paid to get it out. Told him if it happened again, I couldn't get it out. We fought more because of the money. He was still not helping. I had a lot of stress because I was fighting for my kids. So you're fighting for your kids. You didn't mention what job. You have a decent job. You're making money, and you got a guy that is basically leeching off of you for the truck. The fact that he really wanted a truck but was broke says he doesn't really have his priorities in place, and it's highly immature. Sorry to say. I mean, sometimes just like you're living on your friend's couch, and it's like, oh, I want a really nice truck. That's getting way ahead of things as far as the let me just catch my breath on this one. You're living on your friend's couch. You're having trouble with alcoholism, and you're going to help him get a new truck that you know he's probably not going to be able to pay for, and he's not good with money. You're guilty in this too. I don't want you to get down on yourself. I want you to be accountable and realize your role. And then when you realize your role, you say never again. You say, I'm not going to put myself in this situation. I'm better than this. I'm a good mother, and I'm going to focus on getting my daughters to have a little more control in that situation. And this guy currently is an anchor. And you can cut an anchor, right? Just like on a boat. He came back a week later because I was, okay, we fought more because of money. He was still not helping. I had a lot of stress because I was fighting for my kids. We broke up a few times, but like only for a few days, and we would work it out again. I feel like his boss was a bad influence on him. That's another story. No, he's got enough of a resume of doing shitty things that it's not just his boss. Your landlord didn't like him either, right? He left me another time, took all his stuff while I was at work, and left and went down to Arkansas. He said he needed to think. Okay. He came back a week later because I was begging for him just to come back. He said we need to talk. We sat down, and he said that this girl he was talking to in September, when we were split, I knew about her. He actually did sleep with her. He swore he never did, and she just had a baby, and it possibly might be his. I was devastated. Well, I understand how you can be devastated, but this is clarity moving forward that you're done. A week before that, I found out I was pregnant myself. He always wanted a baby with me because he was in love with me, so he said, but I didn't tell him yet because he dropped this bomb about a baby. Wow. This is like a movie here. He was sober for 2 weeks working out and such, but I could tell his demeanor changed and it just seemed down. 2 weeks isn't shit for being sober, sorry to say. I mean, that's not something to be excited about. He needs to do it for a little longer than that. Then a day came where the truck got repoed again. Since that day, he stayed gone. Well, it sounds like, I'm going to be honest with you, he's using you. So the truck leaves and he leaves? Then a day came where the truck got repoed, and since that day, he stayed gone. He said he loved me a few times immediately after in text, but would not answer the phone, period. But also would say, it doesn't mean we should be together. He was staying at his boss's house on the couch, of course, so he could get to and from work. So, again, pattern. So anyone he befriends, he leeches off of him. He used to stay on his best friend's couch, now his boss's couch. This isn't by accident or bad luck. Since he had no vehicle now, he never once said, we won't ever get back together or anything. I told him I was pregnant, and he denied it. He told me I probably cheated or I was lying. Ridiculous. Well, that's a horrible, horrible thing to say to you. Again, this is clarity moving forward, that you're done with him. I told him we needed to discuss what we were doing. We needed to meet. He never would. He never stood me up. He even stood me up when I told him to meet me at a restaurant at a time. Also, he owed me rent for 2 months. He's not going to give you that 2 months rent. Said he wouldn't have it for me after all because they hadn't been busy at work. I took him all his shit and got my key back. Met him at a gas station as I didn't know where his boss lived even. He literally just abandoned me. It was a matter of time, unfortunately. Also, before he left me, he wouldn't take a drug test for the court, which they ordered him to do. So that's one reason he left. He didn't want to keep my girls from me. Okay. Mac, I begged, pleaded for at least a month. I know, stupid of me. But I was so in love with this man. He was so charming with his words. He's not only you, but he's been able to sleep on 2 guys' couches also. And he charmed a truck out of you that you both couldn't afford. Also, he moved 6 states to be with me. He moved 6 states to be with you. I mean, this guy sounds like he's very selfish, highly manipulative. I had to have an abortion because he wouldn't talk to me about what we were going to do. Okay, abortion's a tough topic. I'm not going to get deep into that, but that was a decision for you to make in the end, okay? Talk to me about what we were going to do or if he was even going to be in the baby's life. Another deviation for me, I went into such a deep depression I couldn't afford anything anymore. The court wanted $2,000 from me so they could do the boyfriend investigation. I didn't have it because he never helped me. Okay, now you're blaming him. 1 month later, he got into a relationship with another girl. He's a user. This girl has been in jail multiple times. You don't even want to know about that, and was just arrested in June. I was devastated again. All of my family and friends said I needed to come back home to California and started thinking about that I needed to get back on my feet and go to therapy. I had to end the fight to get my kids. He jeopardized all of that for me. Stop blaming him. It's not going to serve you. This was a bad relationship. This is a bad guy. Move on and don't look back. Do not say he did this to me, he did that to me. You were a part of it. Don't blame yourself. Learn from it. Go to therapy. That's a good suggestion. Get back closer to your family. Get back on your feet and get away from this guy because he's manipulating you. But it doesn't serve you by having a scapegoat or someone to blame. You got into a relationship with him. It went wrong. It went more wrong. And it went more wrong. And you kept on continuing the relationship. So I sold everything and drove back to California. I've been here almost 2 weeks. I was in Missouri from January to September. Left him in Missouri. He just stopped responding to me about a month ago. He got into his relationship. He sent me a happy birthday text, but that was the last time I heard from him. Once I found out about his relationship, I sent him some texts and told him I would never talk to him again. Good for you. I just hit 30 days no contact. Good for you. I still see the same as I did before. I'm still so depressed and anxious. I just want something out of him. No, you're not going to get anything out of him. You don't want anything about him because any negotiation, he's going to put himself first. He's proved that already. Whether it be a text, a call, anything. I know he's no good. If you know he's no good, stay away from him. Move on. Cut your losses. But we had such a crazy love and connection. We loved each other so much. Yeah, for moments. I know he did. This is not love the way he treated you. How can he do what he did and now act as if I never existed? Because he doesn't have your beliefs and your values. He's a different person than you. And like I said, he's narcissistic and selfish, and he puts himself first, and he's been doing it for a while. That's why he sleeps on repeated people's couches. I understand he didn't want to change and stop drinking or drugs. Really? You figured that out? Now that's your clarity. Move on, please. But I warned him. He needed to take it all seriously. It doesn't matter if you warned him. If he didn't want to do it, he didn't want to do it. He wasn't going to do it. He didn't even know I left the state. I think he may have wind of it now. I'm trying so hard to move on, but I dream about him often. I can't stop thinking about him. I know he has a ton of guilt. No, you don't know if he has guilt or not, but he will ever reach out to me again. Will his new relationship last? You don't care because you're moving on, and you don't want to get back in a relationship with this individual. FYI, I've been working on myself. Yes, yes, yes. Ding, 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 ding. I'm gonna have to get a bell for shit like this because this is the heart and core of you getting better. Focus on getting yourself back, working on yourself, doing things as an individual that are goal-reaching, achievement-based, okay? Gym, getting a new job, going to start a school at night, and just doing me and bettering myself. Ding, 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 ding. That's correct. It takes time, though. Here's the thing. You're still going to have dreams. You're still going to miss him. You're still going to get bitchy about the idea that he didn't call you or he doesn't. It's going to take some time. But if you keep doing those things over time, it's like compounding interest, and you'll start feeling a little bit better and a little bit better. And the fact that you live in different states and you don't have to come across him, that's going to help out a lot too. And at some point during your recovery and coming out of this breakup and this heartbreak and this anxiety, and you start feeling better, you'll get angry. You'll start thinking, what was I thinking? And when you get angry like that, just start to move right through it and go, you know what? I'm not going to make that decision again. I'm not going to be that way again. And then when you get strong enough, get back to wherever you need to be to, be a good parent to your daughters. I'm also needing to go to therapy. Therapy's good. It sounds like that's something that you would benefit from. I'm sorry this was long, but it was the only way to tell you all of what happened. I know I should have never talked to him again. Stop being hard on yourself. Just do it. Don't talk to him again. I guess I just wanted the satisfaction of knowing he will one day reach out to me. And that's the thing. A lot of people just want that satisfaction, but who cares? Because this guy is bad news. Whether it be say I'm sorry or I need you back, what's that going to mean? It's not going to be sincere. I was powerless in all of this, it seems. No, you had power. You made bad decisions. But hey, bad decisions, failures, it's life experience. You can learn from it, and these are the two things you get from it. I'm not doing it again. Next time I see red flags like that again, I'm not going to get in that relationship. And if I come across an individual that's a friend or family member and they're in a similar situation, I'll have some compassion. I thought he was so in love with me, or it was just words. Well, I mean, everyone has their own definition of love. And in this guy's particular case, It was possession based. It seems like he was using you in a lot of ways. And you know in your heart, once you get your shit together, that you're going to do better. And when you met him, you had your shit together. And you're going to be all right. It's going to take time, though. You're doing the right things. You move back to California. You're going back to the gym. You're getting therapy. You're doing the right things. It takes time. And then when you start feeling really good about yourself, you'll come to realize, hey, that was just a chapter in the book that's over. I'm moving forward. And if you've ever seen a good movie or anything, and it's a biography about someone, people have these down moments. It's getting up off the mat and going, I'm not going to take this anymore. Okay? So I hope that helps you. Please visit rightmac.com if you've got a story to tell, or if you'd like to book a live coaching session and get a little deeper on this whole situation. All right? Thank you for supporting the channel.